Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And today, it's Dominican Republic episode 37. That's right, you don't want to miss this. It's costing Dominicans more money because the dollar has increased. It's now 62 to 1. What did I tell you? When you borrow money, that is a deficit. That is a debt. That means your country is going to devalue its currency, and also it changes how much debt you owe dramatically and the valuation of your currency. Now, what about airlines? Why isn't the airlines going down? Again, we talked about it. Open skies agreement. If you start checking history, which is what we do here, you find out open skies agreement doesn't really mean what you think it does. And if airports charge more in taxes to land and to leave, then will the airfare go down? The answer is generally no. Well, we got that to talk about. You want to talk about anything else? We have some additional things, so don't miss this, a very important Dominican Republic Weekly, episode number 37, and welcome. Stop struggling now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for being here. Please share the videos because you never know who needs this information. A business owner in the Dominican Republic, a business owner who's looking to start a business in the DR, a person who's thinking about real estate investments, person who's thinking about residency. You just never know who might need this information. Let's get on with it, shall we? We're over here on the Stop Struggling Now YouTube channel page, so make sure you share the channel, share the videos. Once again, as I've mentioned once already, talking about rise of the dollar hits the pockets of Dominicans. So once again, remember last year, a lot of people aren't hearing me though, when I said, hey, when they were banging the pots and pans and everybody was sitting there saying, well, we don't want this tax reform. I said, be careful what you wish for, because you're going to have to borrow the money, because you will not have the tax revenues coming in, because they already charge 18% ITBAs. They already charge 10% more when you're going to get food. So it's 28% right there. Imagine if it's going to cost you even more taxes for everything, which means your businesses, your hotels, everything's going to cost more money. Well, okay, the taxes did not happen. Now, they went out and borrowed over $1 trillion when it was 58, 59 to 1. Well, the rise of the dollar, it cannot continue to rise like this. Here's the article. I'll leave a link down below. The rise of the dollar has many Dominicans up to their necks, worried about the impact that the depreciation of the peso has the prices of the products and services. Now, this works the same way no matter what country you're in. Once again, if you are in a country and they borrow money, every country, you are devaluing your currency, so everything costs more. You can't stop it. So DR can't stop it. So this is what happens. According to the central bank's exchange rate, the U.S. currency closed at 62.0090 for purchase and 62.2529 for sale. Values that will serve as a reference until February 14, 2025. But you guys know I told you already last year it was going to be up. In fact, again, I'm tired of being Notre Dameist when it comes to this economics. That affects all sectors and all of us workers, because when the dollar goes up, everything skyrockets. That's right. So if you make, I don't know, 10,000 US, which I don't know what that 62,000, actually I do know what it is, 620,000 DOP annually. And you used to make, or you still make the equivalent of 59,000 DOP or 590,000 DOP, but for what you could buy before, it now costs you 620,000 DOP. Do you guys get it yet? This affects no matter DR. This is how it works around the world. So when a country or a government is telling you, oh, don't worry about it, we're borrowing money from the IMF, everything's going to be fine. No, it's not. You're devaluing your currency. That's how this works. It's very simple. All right. It cannot continue to rise like this. It is too expensive, said a citizen. Man, there's going to be the whole damn country's going to be saying it's too expensive. These people generally don't get paid a livable wage. They're getting paid the wages for the Dominican Republic, not the wages for everybody that owns the hotels and has businesses that make a lot of money from the USD. So let's get real out here. All right. So I just want to get everybody on board, because you have to understand what's happening. If you're going to invest over there, you're going to do business over there, you have to understand why you may not have Dominicans coming to buy your products if you are too expensive, especially when it's based on USD numbers, and especially when it's going to have to cost them more to survive. Every day, everything's rising. No way to go around it. Now, let's keep on moving, shall we? I'm going to make this short and sweet as I can, because the Dominican today, which I already went with the economy, I had a few things on my list. I'm not going on that one. High airport transport taxes impact competitiveness in the Dominican Republic. This is what I talked about before. Remember, your open skies agreement was a big to-do? Well, look at here. The Dominican Republic's air transport sector faces high tax costs compared to other countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. What are they doing with all that tax money? Affecting its competitiveness. What did I tell you? According to the Regional Center for Sustainable Economic Strategies, CREES, the country ranks 16th out of 20. What about that open skies agreement, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. Air Transport Competitiveness Index, particularly due to high ticket sale taxes. Look at that, 18% ITBIS and arrival fees. It generally, did you know at the Punta Cana Airport, the reason why you can't get like an $89, $99 or, well, you can if you're on the East Coast, but generally it's going to be over $100 and some dollars, because the fees are damn near 70, 80, 90 bucks for them to land. And then to leave costs about half of that amount. So if it's going to cost you 140, 130, 150 in round trip fees, well, obviously the airlines can't charge 140, 150 round trip, or even 190. They got to pay people. So now you understand why the airfare prices have to increase, and are going to increase. Despite ranking third in low airports usage rate, the nation falls behind in other key taxation areas. CREES emphasized these costs not only impact tourism, one of the country's economic pillars, but also make air travel more expensive for all passengers, limiting accessibility and international connectivity. There you go. So there comes an end game. If you have to borrow money, the Dominican peso keeps increasing. That means, just like right now, it increased an additional 5%, 4%. People say no big deal. Well, when you talk about billions of dollars, 4% is millions of dollars. That comes into play eventually, because some people, like if you're on the West Coast right now and somebody says, well, yeah, I'm going to go to the DR, it cost me $700 round trip. And then you go look and I'm like, wait a minute, doesn't it only cost like $750 to go round trip to the EU zone? I'm like, what are we talking about here? Doesn't it only cost me like $500 round trip to go to Hawaii or stay on the West Coast? Why would I go clear across the country and pay $200 to $300 more for almost similar type of experiences? Makes no sense. So that's where we're at. So therefore, that's going to have an impact on the island itself and tourism. Let's see what else we got going on. Finally, after 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years, a senator proposes law to regulate real estate sector and prevent fraud. Why? Because the biggest fraud in history just occurred, $18 billion or $18 million and counting. Yeah, it's more than that, because there's also 3, 4, 5, 10 other lawsuits going down from developers. This probably totals like $100 million that's off the table. Imagine you're losing $100 million due to fraud in the hands of fraudsters who's going to jail. You can't retrieve the money. And so now nobody can spend that money, gone out of your country's money supply. This should have happened a long time ago, but it's only a proposal. In response to the increasing number of real estate scams in the Dominican Republic, Senator Edouard, I don't know how to pronounce his name, of La Romana, has introduced a bill aimed at regulating and professionalizing the sector. Now, he's given us some nonsense that actually you have to have enforcement. So are you you're gonna have to pay for the enforcement, right? They want to adhere to transparent and consumer protection standards, whatever that means. It also establishes a national registry of real estate intermediaries. See, you're setting up blockades and now more additional funding costs, which means it's going to cost more money. Supervised by the Ministry of Industry. Once again, you're going to have to add additional people that work on that. And MSEMs, MICM, there are additional people to work on that. More paperwork which will oversee licensing and penalize fraudulent practices. I didn't see penalization means people have to go to jail. That means you have to have the government, the court system to function efficiently. Just because you can sue somebody today, which is what, February 21st, 2025, now you don't have anything of resolution until what, 2026, 2027? Meanwhile, the person's wasting all that money, time, energy, and effort, because if they're not a person from the Dominican Republic and they live outside of Dominican Republic, they have to fly over there. They have to call around to get their attorneys, and now their attorneys are charging them because they're trying to go to court. I mean, this gets out of ridiculous. So you're penalizing the people who are getting hurt. So therefore, the cost of prohibiting the people to be dealt with that are doing illegal activities, how's that going to be handled? I don't see anything here about this. Unauthorized. The bill includes to strict penalties of unauthorized real estate activities. Now, this right here is ridiculous, including fines of up to 50 minimum wages. I don't know what that means. Maybe somebody can tell me down below. I'll have a link down below. Business suspensions and criminal charges for fraud or identity theft. Now, there we go again. Criminal charges. Now you're going to have to hire more people. Where are you going to get the tax revenue from? That's going to oversee this. You're not doing it right now. So again, this is all talk. This is all BS as far as I'm concerned. A key feature is the introduction of geolocation service for geoconference property. I like that. Allowing individuals to verify the legal status, ownership, and location of registered properties in coordination of real estate jurisdiction. Okay. If they do this, ladies and gentlemen, that geo referencing of where the properties are and people can actually look it up, well, here's what's going to end up happening. You're going to find out a lot of these developers do not own the land. So they are actually in agreement, just like anybody else. I can go down and buy some land right now. And I have an agreement with the owner. I pay them $300 per month. Since we have a pseudo title to it, I can go down and do everything. I can build. I can do whatever I want. I own it. Just like you have a mortgage on your house, you can do whatever you want. If you can get a permit to add something to your house, the loan value doesn't really matter, right? It's your money. You lose everything if you don't complete your payment plan. Same thing here. That's what developers are doing. They're buying $1 million worth of properties, telling people here's 100,000, 200,000, whatever the case may be. And then what ends up happening is they may default, may not pay it, do not have official title because it's not like USA. So therefore, if things go south, they never owned a place anyhow. So the geo-reference may help in that regard. That would be very, very special, right? So let's go see further. But again, who's going to monitor this? Who's going to make sure everything is verified and legal? Again, you're adding more people into the mix, which now means it's going to cost more to develop, which means it's going to cost more for the end buyer to buy. But okay, let's keep moving. I don't know his name, but let's see. Espirita Santo, I don't know, emphasized the urgent need for this law. He's right. This should have been done 20 years ago. Highlighting the devastating impact of scams, particularly those living abroad by Dominican families. The bill also proposes measures such as mandatory civil liability insurance for brokers, regulation of commission fees, and stricter controls on real estate advertising to prevent misleading. Who's going to monitor all this? Who? You're going to have to pay people to do this. The civil liability insurance for brokers, this all sounds nice. I don't know who's writing this, but the fact of the matter is the insurance companies would have to pay out the victims. We know what happens when insurance companies have to pay victims. This is sad. The senator believes these reforms would create a safer, more trustworthy. Well, any type of improvement would be better than no improvement. So let's talk about that. And I'm not even going to say anything further because there's nothing to talk about. Any improvement of any way that you can stop any scams or any fraudulent activity, go for it. But where's the funds going to come from? This is basic economics 101. Let's talk about it. That means something has to give. Is now it's going to be 25% to make matters even worse? Where's the funds going to come from? Are you going to stop the comforteur now? Because otherwise you would have a lot of import duties coming, but then you may not have builders and developers coming. Now you're in a catch-22 because 20% of your economic GDP is from tourism. Unfortunately, 1/5. That is a significant number. And with all that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And regardless of what's going on in the Dominican Republic, this is the situation around the world. Every country has to deal with this exact same thing. How do we get money into our country? Tourism's one of the easiest things to do, especially when you're in warm weather climates, when you're on islands, and it costs less to produce until it doesn't. So therefore, I suggest you do find something offshore, regardless of what country you're in. Find something in another country. Protect yourself. Be able to be mobile in case your government does something that's very bad for its citizens, because the money is drying up worldwide. And with all that said, keep your head up. Keep moving. And I'm out.